Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is video 3 and told you guys this one was coming in the first video. If you have not watched that already, if you would like to, you can watch that. This is my third video, so you should be able to find it as the very first video when you look at my channel. But today's video is going to be talking about my so far fertility journey after my 3 miscarriages. Before I get into this rambled story, it may be a long one, I'm not sure. I just got out of the shower, and once my hair dries, it turns into a puffy lion mane. So I'm gonna try and finish this video before that progression starts happening with my hair, because it is not a pretty sight whatsoever. So I'm just gonna enjoy, you know, my nice little natural curl situation, you know, until that happens. But before I get into this video, if you have not already, you haven't, I know, because I only have 5 subs, but if you could please subscribe to this video, hit like on this video, comment down below, and ring that bell to be notified of any future videos. And everybody's like, oh, wear your hair natural, they say. It's like, these curls look so great right now. I like literally in about, we'll give it like a half hour, this will look like complete and utter disaster. We had our consult with Delaware Institute of Reproductive Medicine back in November. Believe it was early November. I honestly can't remember, and I don't have my calendar in front of me because I'm using my phone to record this video. We went in to consult with the doctor there, the main doctor there for fertility, and basically had to update them that I've had another miscarriage since I've seen them last. Again, if you didn't watch my first video, I did mention in there that after my second miscarriage, the goal was to always go to them first. And right when I had that upcoming appointment, I found out I was pregnant for the 3rd time. So clearly there was no point to keep that appointment, and now we're back. So I had to basically update them with everything that happened with the 3rd pregnancy, the miscarriage, and then, you know, get right into it. So after I kind of debriefed the nurse on everything that happened with the 3rd miscarriage, the doctor came in, and basically there was sketches. There were multiple sheets of just a sketch of a uterus and right on top of his desk. And what he did was he took one of those blank sketches and basically said, okay, these are the possibilities of what could be causing your miscarriage. So I still have that piece of paper. This is what the paper looks like. So basically he went in to just provide all of the different options, all of the different scenarios as to what could have been or what could be causing my miscarriages. So he talks about progesterone here, which during my last pregnancy I was taking progesterone suppositories. However, my first 2 pregnancies, the first one I was not, and neither was the second one. And the second one, I don't even know if I had progesterone issues, but that was not the case, I don't think, of my miscarriages. This little picture he drew here was basically saying that it says rejection. So basically saying that there could be antibodies, APA, some form of antibodies that when my baby gets to a certain amount of weeks, my body basically rejects the baby, not recognizing that it's actually a person, but thinking that it's something foreign that my body needs to get rid of. He also talked down here about a possible infection from the sperm that goes up there. Because we've already done genetic testing on the 2 previous babies, he basically ruled out that it's any sort of genetic issue. Here says about, you know, me and Sean being my boyfriend, me and Sean's chromosomes or something not matching up. when we are conceiving. So basically he literally was drawing all of this out as he's talking to us, and I'm sitting there, and it was very, very overwhelming to kind of see, like, it was overwhelming, but at the same time it was hopeful, right? Because you're sitting there and I'm actually being able to, on paper, see what could be causing this, what could be causing us to lose the baby. So this was hopeful, but then in a sense, as he's actually sitting there and he's actually writing all this down, it just became very overwhelming. So yeah, so he gave me that to keep, and I still have it. So after all of that, you know, me and Sean are sitting there, and, you know, we're just like deer in headlights because we have no freaking clue what he's talking about. We know that this is going to be weeks and weeks of testings to figure out what it is. And basically, after all of that, he just says, which is something, it's still a comment I remember from him, because he says, I'm 98% sure that we are going to be able to find the reason why this is happening. And that just made me feel so hopeful. I didn't care what testings had to be done. I just knew that I want to know why we cannot have babies, or why, like, what is going on. So after we initially met with him, me and Sean went over to their lab station and basically got blood drawn to do a carrier screening to see what disorders me and Sean carry, to see if maybe we have the same disorder, or we're carriers for the same disorder that may pass on to future children. Before we left out of the doctor's office, we also talked about all the steps that I would be doing, like all the testing that we'd be doing, and I do have the full list in front of me because I didn't want to miss anything. So after the genetic carrier screening, I did do fasting blood work. So I think literally that Saturday, because I had to before I was about to get my period. So there's specific timing with all of these testings, which was very frustrating because I had to make sure that I was able to get off of work, make all of that work. So that Saturday, after we did the initial appointment, Sean had to get blood work drawn, and then I had to get blood work drawn. He wanted to test every single thing. He wanted to do a full panel of blood work, which I was 100% down with, because I obviously at this point want answers, and I don't care how much blood you have to draw from me. I got 15 vials of blood drawn that day. 15. My vein, after the 8th vial, gave up. Literally, the nurse that was doing, or the lady who was drawing my blood, had to like tap my arm to like wake my vein up, like, come on, vein, you got to do this. So 15 vials of blood. Sean hates needles, so, you know, he is across from me getting his 5 vials done and like cringing and all this, and I'm sitting there getting 15 vials of blood, and I'm just like, are you joking right now? You're gonna like cry about it? Come on. I didn't get results really from that, right? I mean, basically throughout all these testings, they were doing all these testings before, you know, the end result is for me and Sean to sit back down with this doctor to talk about everything that he found, everything that's going on, and get answers and figure out what's the next step. So they did do cervical cultures on me. The next blood work that I got done, this was right before I was about to get my period. I had to get some testings done before my period, during, and after. So right before my period, I got a sonohysterosalpingogram. In short, Sono HSG, which is an ultrasound with saline infusion to study the contour of the uterine cavity and the patency of the fallopian tubes. So basically, they shoot water up your vag through your uterus and make sure that the water goes through both of your fallopian tubes. So this procedure, you have to sign like a consent form, even though you're not going under anesthesia. There is pain involved. They are going through your cervix up into your uterus, and this was freaking painful. Like, you know, it really felt like somebody was taking a knife to the inside of my lower stomach. So women, you know, cramping pains, but times like 100 and a little more intense. And they're 3 people in the room. One is injecting the water in, the other one is looking at the ultrasound machine, and I'm basically looking and they're just going, oh, it's not going anywhere. And then I'm just sitting there wincing in pain, and water just shoots back out of me. And they don't even address it. They just go, okay, and they kind of clean everything up. And I'm like, well, wait, what happened? They're like, okay, so the water is supposed to go through your tubes, and the water, and they showed me on the ultrasound machine, the water actually just sat there in your uterus and didn't go to your tubes. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Your tubes could be blocked. Now, the tubes, obviously, that's where the sperm goes through to get me pregnant. And with me being pregnant 3 previous times, clearly that it just adds a new issue to it, because now my tubes are blocked for future pregnancies. So, of course, you know, they're just gathering information. They're just the techs. They're not the doctor. They're just like, you know what? He's going to sit down with you at the end of everything and talk about your options. So I'm like, okay, great. But now, I'm not gonna lie, I think even when I left the office that day, I came home and I cried, because it just is in one more issue now. Like, first issue is me miscarrying children, and now the second issue is, oh shit, my tubes are tied, so how am I gonna be able to get pregnant now? You know what, I lied. The first thing I got done that same day was confirming my ovulation. So they basically went in, they did like a 3D image of my uterus, they were checking the size of one of my follicles to see when I would be ovulating, to then do a timeline of when you need to do this, when you need to do this, like all that. So I got that first, then I got the Sono HSG done. So then I was going to get the next testing done, which would have been the office hysteroscopy, which is where they take a camera, insert it into the uterus just to see if there's any scar tissue or anything abnormal with the uterus itself. But when they actually went and did my blood work for ovulation, after the HSG, they learned that I was going to be ovulating quicker than they thought, so I couldn't do the office hysteroscopy until after my period. So my period for November. So skip that. I had to get blood work done while I was on my period. They tested my progesterone levels, and basically during my ovulation, my progesterone went down. So that just confirms that when I do get pregnant, I will have to keep doing progesterone suppositories or supplements or whatever they recommend. So it's blood work before my period. During my period, I had to get blood work. And then after my period, right before my period, I got the endometrial biopsy done, which is when they take a portion of your uterine lining. And that was painful as well, because it was a 5-second thing, and I actually really loved the nurse or the tech that did that procedure, because she was very open. She's like, it is going to be a little crampy. Like, they actually recommend you take in Tylenol 2 hours before the procedure, because it is going to hurt. So she basically said, I'm going to be going in there. It's going to be 5 seconds of pain, and then you should be good to go. And Sean came with me for that one, and literally she counted 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the shit hurt. Yeah, they just evaluate the effect of progesterone. So I'm not sure if it was that or it's all such a blur, but I can't remember if it's that or my blood work to see about my progesterone. But then they did that. I got my period. I did blood work during my period just to see like where my levels were. And then right after my period, I had to schedule the office hysteroscopy, which is when the actual doctor came in and inserted the camera. And that one wasn't as painful because the camera was very, very thin that they went in through the cervix. So that one, they're basically just looking to see if all my if my cavity has any abnormalities or fibroids or anything. And he basically told me after that procedure that everything looked really good. So that's good, I guess. I still am pretty much in the dark about a lot of this stuff, honestly. So when they did the cultures for me, they actually did it the day they did the hysteroscopy. They basically told me that there is a bacteria they found in my uterus that is a normal bacteria that we have on our bodies but should not be in the uterus. So basically me and Sean have to take an antibiotic for that. They said it could just happen, you know, during sex. They said it's very common to get that in your uterus, but it's not anything that would cause miscarriages or anything. So that again just leaves, you know, just questions. The last thing that actually has to be done that has not been done yet is Sean's sperm analysis. Sean had a medical insurance that this doctor's office does not take because his insurance has to be billed for the sperm analysis, and they did not tell him that until he showed up with his sample in his hand to give to them. And out of pocket, it would have been $160. We are in the holiday season, people. So no, he's not going to pay $160 out of pocket. So he's going to be getting new insurance in January. So we have just decided that we will wait until January 2nd for him to give his sample and for that insurance to help us out. But that will be the final step. They have gotten everything. That will be the final step. They've already done everything with me. I'm done. So literally the final step is for Sean to get the sperm analysis. And once that is completed, then we will be able to actually sit down with the doctor, talk about every single thing that he saw with my results, and just go over our next steps, which I'm very, very excited for. I'm glad I did everything now because I actually met my deductible with my insurance. So every visit was free for me. If I did not meet my deductible, my copays would have been $50 a visit, and I've already been there about 6 or 7 times. So we're looking at a lot of money. So I'm definitely glad that I did all of that. The other thing that they haven't really spoken to me about, it's been me being more me, like liking to actually dive in and like be a little curious about certain things, is they do have a patient portal, which you can go and you can find all your blood work results. You can find everything on there. And every time there's a new document put in there, they send you a text saying, hey, you have a message from the portal, and you go log on. I decided after that 15 panel of blood work that I wanted to go in and see what all they tested for. Now, it was like reading Chinese. I don't know Chinese. It was like reading another language. But I'm so curious that I just took every little thing they tested for and I Googled what it meant and, you know, just looked at everything to make sure that everything was normal, because they weren't telling me shit. I feel like if they found something like my clogged tubes, they weren't going to really like explain anything until I meet with the doctor. So as I was going through the blood work and I was showing negative for pretty much everything, there was one thing that I actually tested positive for, and that was anti-nuclear antibodies. Now, anti-nuclear antibodies is one of those antibodies that he said if I have, my body could be rejecting the baby at a certain number of weeks. So I then Googled what anti-nuclear antibodies was. Anti-nuclear antibodies in your blood indicates that your immune system has launched a misdirected attack on your own tissue. In other words, an autoimmune reaction. Now, why I have that, I don't know. But of course, because I'm one of those people where you Google your symptoms, anti-nuclear antibodies can be linked with lupus, different autoimmune disorders. Now, the only thing that I have, to my knowledge, is an iron deficiency. I have sickle cell trait. And that's it. Like, that's the only thing that I am aware of that I have an issue with, which are things that have nothing to do with these antibodies. So when I brought this up to the nurse, because I told her, hey, I looked through my blood work and I noticed that I was positive for this. What does that mean? She said that It doesn't necessarily mean you have an autoimmune issue. It does mean that your body is attacking itself, and that could be why you have miscarried. But again, we won't have all the answers until you sit down with Dr. Russell and talk about everything. So I said, okay, what does that mean though? She said, if you were to have any physical symptoms of any kind that would kind of like alert you that maybe there's something wrong with you, then I would go to your primary, get some blood work done a little more in depth with these antibodies and figure out what's going on. But she said, honestly, if you were pregnant with this, we would give you a steroid while you're pregnant, and that should hopefully help that. But then my thoughts are with that is, how do we know 100% that a steroid would help that? Like, the only way I would really be able to confirm if this steroid would work is actually having to do the steroid with a life inside of me. Now, we don't know how that can end up, and that's the part that I actually hate about it, but that's pretty much all she could tell me. So I have decided that I'm going to see my primary. I'm going to get a panel of blood work done for these antibodies, just because I'm curious as to what in the world, like, why. I mean, it does say people that are test positive doesn't necessarily mean they have an issue, but with my luck and just my curiosity, I want to know. Like, I'm going to get the panel done just to give me a better peace of mind. But in the meantime, Sean will be getting his sperm analysis January 2nd, 2020. And they said the results take about a week or two. So hopefully the end of January, we will be sitting down with the doctor and talking about everything that he noticed during my results and what I can do going forward, or what we can do going forward to have success with pregnancy. So that's pretty much it. I thought this was going to be much longer, but it's been 4 weeks of testing from end of November to about beginning December. So it's been a minute doing these testings and being poked and being like, I've given more blood to these people than I have in my entire life. So I'm hoping that everything they have tested for will give us, you know, some good news, some hope. But that's all I have. That is all I have for today's video. Oh my god, look, this hair it's already doing it. It went from being nice and curly to holy shit. Okay, I have to go. Okay, that's all I got for you guys. Again, if you liked what you saw, please comment below if you're going through the same thing. I would love to connect with you, talk to you. I love that there's people on Instagram that I am talking with that are kind of dealing with the similar situations as me. So definitely, if you're going through the same thing, please let me know. I want to show love to you, because this is a shitty situation, and I can only imagine what others are going through. I'm going through it too. So I can do more than imagine. I'm actually in it. But again, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to my channel. Again, I'll be doing a lot more of these life videos. Obviously, once we sit down with the doctor and talk about everything, that'll be another video. But I also want to have fun videos too. I'm thinking of doing influencer picks my makeup, which is going really bad right now because I'm starting from zero and nobody knows who you are, and people have millions of followers, and are they going to pay attention to your little teeny message? No. So that may just be influencer picks my makeup fail. So we will see, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.